All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I have an amazing guest for you today. It's going to be talking about gut health and how this is so important, folks. You have no idea. So listen to this. Gabe Doe is the president or founder and president of The Good Brew right here. And this stuff right here, folks, will change your life. Everything starts at the gut. William, or Gabe, as you like to be called, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be on here, Nino, and happy holidays and best to your family. And I know you've got a lot going on, so it's an honor to be here. Yes, gut is everything. It's the foundation. 70% of your immune system is in your gut. 90% of the serotonin that our bodies produces is produced in the gut. All of the things that we're hearing about these GLPs and those sorts of things that people are taking for weight loss, our bodies actually produce those same molecules naturally, and with a healthy gut has been shown to produce those same peptides because of a healthy gut. So we can do a lot for ourselves without having to take medications and those sorts of things. It's also been shown that serotonin that's produced in the gut is a primary neurotransmitter in regulating appetite. So a healthy gut means healthy neurotransmitters, healthy peptides, healthy nutrition absorption, healthy immune function, healthy mind and brain. We've seen this
Well, everything starts in the gut. Everything
That's right.
starts in the gut, and I've had doctors tell me this even as an athlete. I remember there was doctors like, "Man, take care of your gut. That's what everything stems from." You would
Yes.
think you think about your brain, you think about your heart, but really it's what we're putting in our gut that decides everything. And I've noticed since I've been taking this, I've had less of an upset stomach. I've been more regular, and
That's right.
it's been great. So it says here prebiotic fiber and probiotic. Now I've heard of probiotic. I've never
Yes.
heard of prebiotic.
Yeah. The prebiotic is what feeds the gut microbiome, and our organic inulin fiber that we use as a prebiotic is the kind of fiber that's found in nature and fruits and that sort of thing. So our microbiome really likes to feed on that prebiotic fiber. And many of the prebiotic fibers that are sold on the market really aren't prebiotic fibers. Maybe they're not even really prebiotics. They're just sold that way. And they definitely do not occur in nature in those forms like corn dextrin and wheat dextrin, these synthetic fibers that the companies are selling as prebiotics. But we often hear from people when they start using our product that they had been using some of these other products because some doctor or somebody had recommended them to do that, and it had just made their conditions worse. Because you can imagine like a wheat dextrin being something that you're selling to somebody for stomach issues with all the gluten sensitivities and that kind of thing that's going on. So yeah, I mean, that's just the name of the game out there with the big companies, and so we use organic inulin fiber. That's the kind of fiber that the gut microbiome has evolved to feed on.
I know this stuff also works with, like, for me. I'm like very sensitive to everything, and I get a lot. I battle with depression here and there and anxiety, and I never really thought about if you take care of your gut, it will take care of you, and everything stems from that serotonin. Can you
Yes.
explain that to my audience? Because I have been noticing, like, I take a lot of stuff, but especially with this stuff, I've been noticing a lot more of like a regular mood. I just been
Yeah,
feeling a little better, and like I said, I've taken it when I had an upset stomach, and it felt better. I felt better.
we get so many great testimonials for people with GERD and acid reflux, upset stomachs, chronic constipation. But the human body and the biology of the body is obviously a very complex system. So many things are working in synchronicity with one another. And the gut, obviously the Greeks and Hippocrates, they recognized this a long time ago, and we kind of got to get back to that. So yes, producing these proteins and breaking down of nutrition properly in a healthy gut lining. All of these things are the center and the core of the rest of our biology and how everything works together. So the serotonin, we have serotonin that's produced in the brain, but then we have serotonin that's produced in the gut. Most of the serotonin in our body is produced in the gut. Now they don't interchange directly. The serotonin produced in the gut doesn't go to the brain, but the enteric nervous system, the nervous system that is our digestive system, is the second largest concentration of neurons in the body, and it's often called the second brain. And 70% of the communication between the gut and the brain is from the gut up to the brain. And so one of the things they've seen, getting to your point about mood, and there's sort of a chronic and long-term aspect of this, and then there's sort of an immediate aspect to this, is that they've shown with, like, say, autistic children, huge improvements in their anxiety and that sort of thing.
In autistic children?
Yeah, in autistic
Wow.
children, from changing the gut microbiome and getting the gut healthier. And that serotonin is, now they're neurotransmitters that are produced by the microbes themselves, and then there's serotonin. They do see that being produced somewhat by the microbes, but the serotonin is mostly produced by the body and the gut. But what they've seen is that an unhealthy microbiome dysregulates the body's ability to produce the serotonin correctly. So what happens, and there's many things that are going on, but one of the key things directly to anxiety is that when our gut is off, it's signaling to the brain this constant danger, like we're sick or something's happening to us, or we're in danger of some sort. We're getting a stomach bug, and the brain is trying to figure out, the primitive brain, what's going on? I'm under attack. And so when the microbiome's dysregulated, the ability for the body to properly produce neurotransmitters and other chemicals correctly is all out of whack, and it's sending this constant danger signal to the brain. So when we have a healthy gut, everything else starts working correctly, and that has a lot to do, they think, with this actual, like, day-to-day kind of mood situation. And then there's longer term issues with, like, where you start to get into dementia and that kind of thing, and they're linking a lot of that back to the pathogens that start in the mouth and then make their way to the digestive system. And if we don't have a healthy digestive system, those microbes from the mouth take hold in the gut, and they start producing the toxins and those sorts of things that get up through the nervous system and then start to cause an immune response.
So let me ask you this, man. That's pretty profound. But how did you come up with this formula? Like, how'd you create this? What made you even think of the way to even come up with a perfect concoction here? And folks, it does go with your coffee. I think it tastes great. It has like a neutral taste, but it still has a sweet and almost like a sweetener taste a little bit. I love the way it tastes.
Yeah. So inulin fiber, short chain inulins are, for the most part, most people would say are tasteless, but they have a mildly sweet taste to them, and that's because they're the short chain fructans that make up the inulin. And it's important that you taste that little bit of, you won't really taste it. It won't change the flavor of your coffee, but if you put some on your finger, you'll taste it. We do have people that will take it just straight, or they'll put it in juice or yogurts or whatever. It goes great in everything. It doesn't alter the flavor. But because you can taste it as slightly sweet, that's a really good
slight sweetness. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason that's important to recognize that is because there are other inulins that have been made, like what they're called long chain inulins. They've been made for the food industry to help stabilize foods, and they don't have that sweet taste. So if you taste that sweetness in an inulin, it's a naturally occurring inulin like ours. And that's what the gut microbes really like to feed on, to produce this very, very important molecule that also gets back to overall health and your mood, your immune system, and proper cellular function. And that's short chain fatty acids. These short chain fatty acids are essential for we cannot live, we would die without short chain fatty acids. And the short chain fatty acids are produced by the gut microbes. Our body does not produce short chain fatty acids. And we get a small amount of short chain fatty acids from the food we eat, but 95% of them are from the good microbes feeding on that prebiotic fiber. And that prebiotic produces these short chain fatty acids. And when we're eating junk food, or we've had antibiotics, or our guts in dysbiosis, we don't produce those short chain fatty acids, and our cells start to look for other fuel sources. And then that causes metabolic problems with the cells, which then, causes inflammation and all sorts of things throughout the body. So when our body is not working properly, it gets anxious. It wants to fix the problem. It doesn't know what the problem is, and it just sees us as under attack and disease. So those short chain fatty acids produced by the microbiome are produced in the large intestine by these good bacteria. And our product, Good Brew, does a great job of both helping to, it's been studied, 25 clinical studies behind the strain of probiotic that we use, but it really does a great job of not only helping to produce these short chain fatty acids and other metabolites itself, but it's also helping to create an environment in the lower intestine that builds up the good microbes that we get from our mothers at birth, they're called the colonizing microbes like 𝗬𝗏𝗃𝗃 𝗵𝗲𝗿𝗲. So Good Brew does a great job of helping to support that natural microbiome that we have and getting it into homeostasis. And then these short chain fatty acids and metabolites really help to boost our overall health all the way around. So whether it's dealing with a chronic digestive issue or more crowded, I'll give you. And you also asked that question about how did we come up with the product, but
well, it's never too late to take this stuff, right? You could take it at any age.
you know, every age. We got people from kids to 90-year-olds. When we get these testimonials of people, we have many testimonials. We have a guy who he's 90 some years old. His doctor for 2 years had been trying to help him with chronic constipation. I was only going to the restroom like once or twice a week. 2 years, the doctor had been trying to help him, and he got our product, and in like 2 weeks, it had done what the doctor couldn't do in 2 years.
Well, that's not hard to believe.
right, yeah, just trying to get everything back and working and getting the gut healthy, and so yeah, so the story of how we came up with this is it's a long story. So, but it just goes many years ago. I was in graduate school. I was working in the patent office at the university, and we were talking about multiple sclerosis, and there was a researcher working on that. And anyhow, there was a theory at that point in time that was kind of a fringe theory that MS might have a lot to do with the gut microbiome and the gut health. Because of observations that were being made of where it was prevalent and where it wasn't prevalent. And that kind of stuck with me. And then I was also working on some food technology. And so as I was doing those things, I kind of came across this inulin fiber, which at the time wasn't really being used for anything. It's organic inulin fiber. And there was one paper had been written on it. And then this other company was developing or culturing, it's a natural strain of probiotic, but they were culturing the specific strain of Bacillus coagulans and showing all these benefits that it had. And Bacillus coagulans is found in nature. As we get it from the soil and the foods that we would eat as scavengers and that kind of stuff. And it really does a great job of supporting our colonizing microbiome. But it just dawned on me that a lot of the fibers and things on the market were inferior. And then also many of the probiotics that are sold on the market in capsule form and that sort of thing, A, the capsules aren't big enough to actually put a significant amount of prebiotic fiber in the capsule. And B, the probiotics in those capsules don't survive very well on the shelves or through the stomach. And that these spore-forming bacteria were in nature, like Mother Nature's, so amazing, right? Because it really, they are the supporting microbes for our colonizing microbes. So instead of trying to eat a bunch of probiotics that don't really survive the stomach from all, take the spore forming probiotic that supports everything else and then build things that way and keep it simple, because the gut's so complicated that you can't tell. I think it's very hard to say to somebody, hey, take this specific formulation of probiotics and this is perfect for you, when the gut microbiome is unique to each individual as their thumbprint is. To do something that's proven and studied, but help support what you've got and work with what you've got, And so that's the idea with Good Brew. It's natural, no preservatives. We don't use any processing aids. We use the organic inulin fiber. That's what nature, has fed our microbiome for millennia. And then with a probiotic that's spore forming, and you can use it easily. And it just really dawned on me that being able to take your probiotics in a very convenient form, like being able to put it into coffee or something, which you can't do with other probiotics that aren't spore forming. But because it's spore forming, it has 10 times better survivability than the cultures you find in yogurt and that sort of thing. And so, it survives out in nature. So the coffee doesn't bother it at all because it's in a spore. But even more importantly, the stomach acids don't kill it. And so it gets through the stomach and gets down into the lower intestine where it germinates, and then it does its thing.
Wow.
It helps to, it's been shown to increase protein utilization by up to 20%, which is huge, whether you're an athlete or whether you're getting older and your body's using protein less efficiently. That increase in protein utilization is from the microbes breaking down those proteins into peptides and amino acids so your body can absorb them. And if you're on a high, like a carnivore diet or something like that, people would think, well, I'm getting a lot of protein. But what happens is the microbiome starts to get less diversified when you're on like a carnivore diet. And so you're missing some of those microbes that help to break down those proteins and amino acids and peptides. So you're breaking down the proteins, but not down to the point where your body will absorb them. So it's very important that you have the microbes and a little bit of fiber in your diet, or a lot, or as much fiber as you can get in your diet. That's in our products keto friendly, to help you actually utilize that protein, and also to produce those short chain fatty acids, which gets into having a good overall healthy digestive system, and those that leaky gut syndrome, and kind of getting a little bit back to the mental health and overall inflammation and chronic disease. What happens is when our gut gets unhealthy, the cells that line in the intestines, the digestive system, these epithelial cells, they start to get breaks in them. And they're what's called tight junctions between the cells, are lined up really closely together like this. And then when we don't have good nutrients, we don't have the short chain fatty acids, which keep the cells healthy, they get these little openings in them. And then things from the outside get into the gut, and things from inside the gut get out of the gut that aren't supposed to, that aren't fully digested yet. And that then kicks off these big inflammatory responses throughout the body, and arthritis. And
yeah, inflammation is the killer, man. Inflammation is what causes all diseases.
Right, exactly. And part of that, what happens there too, is these proteins that aren't broken down yet. When that happens, the proteins get outside of that, unbroken down, so they're not ready for the body to actually use them. And the body really looks at proteins as foreign invaders. And so once you start to allow those proteins to get outside of the gut before they're fully digested, the body starts to create antibodies that are permanent, and once your body starts to produce and knows and learns how to produce an antibody against a foreign agent, it's constant at that point, right? Anytime you get more and more sensitive, that's where gluten sensitivity starts to really bother people. Like if people have a healthy gut and a digestive system, unless they actually truly have celiac disease, most people should be able to manage a certain amount of gluten. But once something happens in the digestive system to where those proteins start to get out of the body and out of the digestive system, and the body starts to attack them, now your gluten sensitivity keeps rising and rising, because your body's now producing these antibodies against that.
You know what confuses me about this, which I don't understand? It says here 1 billion live active cultures.
Yeah.
Most probiotics that I know of, you have to refrigerate.
Yeah. So that's the
You don't have to with this?
No,
I've been keeping this on my shelf. Hopefully I don't have to.
No. I mean, that 𝗬𝗏𝗃 coagulans lives out in nature, in the soil, and out in the, it's a transitory probiotic. And that's what I was saying. It's kind of like this really great thing that Mother Nature always does for us, is put something out there in nature that we can consume, that then helps to support the colonizing bacteria that the ones that you try to refrigerate, or this or that or the other, or they put like a 50 billion CFUs in the capsules. The reason they're doing that is because most of them are going to die. And so,
yeah, and who has time to take it with them and refrigerate it? I just pack in my suitcase and I'm gone, man.
Exactly.
That's what I love about it.
And if you're taking any other probiotics that's like in capsule form, the Good Brew is only going to help support those. And so it does a great job, doing that too. And there's so many wonderful things about having a healthy gut and the way that it affects our overall health and wellness.
So where do people get this stuff?
So go to Good Brew, that's spelled BRU.com, GOODBRU.com. And you can use the promo code 𝗫𝗃𝗃 and get 10% off. So for the holidays and for Thanksgiving, 𝗫𝗃𝗃. And I think we're going to do a little bit. I think last time we did something. This time I think we're going to give a little bit of money to the Midwest Food Bank.
Wow,
for the holiday. Yeah. It's a great organization. So I think we want to give try to give $1,000 or something to the Midwest Food Bank from the revenues we generate here and through the holidays. That's a good time of year to do that. And I've given stuff to them before. They're one of the top rated charities in the country. So the Midwest Food Bank. And so 𝗫𝗃𝗃 is 10% off. And also we're going to have a very special thing going on the website. So it'll be a special to buy a large and get a free small. So you'll get
that works.
So you buy the large, and get a free travel size. We call this a travel size because a lot of people,
I love this stuff in my coffee. I take it twice a day. I know I don't have to. Sometimes I miss a day though. Depends on which one. I've had a crazy schedule, but I'll double up the next day. So you can take it as much as you want during the day, or what?
Yeah, the key with this product and with your gut is, and that's the other thing about being able to use something by the scoop, is start small, find what works for you. And we have some people who use like 2 or more scoops a day. I use 2 scoops a day, but we
I
also
always
have people.
overdo everything.
Oh, well, it's what works for you. You'll know, you find out what works for you. Listen to your body. But we also have a lot of people who use 1 scoop a day, and these are people who've had real, chronic gut health issues, and 1 scoop works for them. So it's all, start small, because some people do have an adjustment period and that sort of thing. Find out where it works for you, and then use anywhere from from 1 to 4 scoops a day. Sometimes when I'm traveling, I'll do what you do, and because travel always messes with you. I'll do like 2 in the morning, and then two in the afternoon or in the evening or something like that. But for most regular days, I do two scoops of my coffee in the morning. And you'll notice over time, some people have chronic digestive health issues, and they notice something very quickly. But then most everybody, as you start to use it for a while, you'll notice, like you said, better regularity. You'll start to notice little things. We have a lot of people who've used it for quite a while now, really tell us about how much they've noticed it in their immune health, just not getting sick as often and recovering from colds and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, I know my audience already loves this stuff. They saw the last video and they really took hold to it, and they've been I know you've done well with them. So
Yes.
folks, it's not a gimmick. This stuff's amazing. I try everything I peddle. If I don't believe in the product, I get products sent to me all the time, man, and 90% of them don't pass.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we know.
So I'm a stickler on this stuff, and I've been a pro athlete. I know what works, what doesn't, what agrees with my body, what doesn't. I give everything about a month. If I don't feel or see anything within a month, I just stop taking it. I say I'm not interested. This stuff works, folks. Get on it. It's goodbrew.com. I'll put it down there below. Remember, 10% off. Give thanks is the promo code. Thank you so much for joining me, Gabe.
Thank you, Nino. It's always a pleasure, man. Yeah, excellent, awesome. Merry Christmas and Happy Thanksgiving.